Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And we're going to be talking about this new Drake Duppy Freestyle. Drake versus Pusha T. Oh my god, Pusha T. He opened Pandora's box with a couple of bars off of Infrared, a track off of his new album. Now, Pusha T going at Drake and also going at Lil Wayne and going at Drake via Lil Wayne as a bit of an extra, bit of a side dish is nothing new. That beef has been there for years. And typically when Push has something coming out, he does like to reference it at least a few times just because I guess it stirs a little drama and kind of reminds people that that tension is still there. It's been so long at this point, I wonder why it's still there, but he just won't give it up. And if you remember, and I will be talking about that a little bit in my review of his new project, Daytona, but Pusha T essentially mentions the whole Quentin Miller thing, which it happened. It was, in my opinion, a low point for Drake, but it's something that he was able to overcome because Meek Mill's response to his disses at Meek were just so meager and just so embarrassing that it was kind of easy for Drake to kind of sidestep that whole thing, just because there was really no backlash to Back and to the other track he dropped toward Meek. So now we have Push bringing it up, and it happened so long ago. Why is it a big deal now? Why are we talking about it again? I mean, it's really kind of Drake's soft spot at this point, and you could argue that even though it was a while back, that he never really truly got taken to task for it by somebody who is actually lyrical, at least as lyrical as Pusha T. Now, I mean, I thought Pusha T's verses and his bars across Daytona, and again, I'll get into that in review, were really good. I thought the Quentin Miller line was pretty fun and pretty clever. But Drake just over responded. It's like it's like Pusha T just took a little shot at him, and Drake's like, launch the nukes, launch the fucking nukes, because God. He fucking went hard at Push. So fucking hard. And I mean, in a way, Drake almost delegitimized this whole thing because it's immediately after this that he dropped I'm Upset and Upset Sucks. It's like so bad it's embarrassing. And that's the thing. Drake, he's so inconsistent and as influential as he is, he's just all over the place in terms of style and quality across his entire discography. I mean, there are incredible high watermarks, like if you're reading this, moments that are a little underwhelming, but still very good, like Take Care, albums and records that I was completely just indifferent toward, like Nothing Was the Same. Views is an absolute fucking mess. And now we sort of have this Duppy Freestyle. But again, as inconsistent as Drake is, I do think this is one of his better tracks. I do think this is one of his better verses. This is actually super killer, and it's a smart response to what Push said. Again, I don't think I would rate Push above Drake as far as overall quality here, because I mean, Air to me is so much more of a skilled and an accomplished MC, and just has a better track record. Again, as influential and as mainstream as Drake is. But I really feel like Drake took it to him, you know? And again, this comes from somebody who's generally a bigger fan of Push than Drake. But the fact that he sort of clarifies and actually kind of illustrates a bit of hypocrisy in the opening lines with, well, you know, if you're mad at me for this whole Quentin Miller thing, like, what do you think about the dude who's making your beats? He literally can't make a single song on a single album without a million collaborators on it, which is absolutely true. And not to say that that's a bad thing about Kanye, and not to say that the Quentin Miller thing is necessarily a bad thing about Drake. But the thing is, everybody is working with people in the industry. Everybody is working with people. Hardly anybody is making songs completely by themselves. And again, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. You know, but if that's your standard, obviously you're applying that standard kind of inconsistently. Going on from there, I love the bar that he spits at him as far as kind of calling his relation to the drug dealing into question, saying your brother said it was your cousin, then him, then you. So you don't rap what you did, you just rap what you knew. Don't be ashamed, and so on and so forth. No malice in your heart, you're an approachable dude. Then he says, "But you act like you sold drugs for Escobar in the '80s," which I think it's kind of an eviscerating line. It's an eviscerating thing to highlight because, look, I'm not completely calling a Pusha T's track record on this stuff into question, but I do think Drake brings up reasonable doubt, and Push has gotten away, just as Drake has gotten away with the Quentin Miller thing. Push has effectively gotten away, I think, with a little over-exaggeration on that front across his career. But the thing is, we like the music. We enjoy what he does. So I think most people are just kind of willing to let it slide because obviously there is a connection there. But maybe he's overselling it a little bit. And I feel like Drake comes over here and kind of pops his bubble a little bit in a very smart way. Going on from there, he kind of clarifies the Quentin thing a little bit more, which I thought was decent, and I thought that was smart. Saying how he's making it easy. He's talking about how his image is fading, like the autograph on his microphone, which I thought was kind of brutal, but also simultaneously illustrated that Drake used to really idolize Push in a lot of ways. And obviously at the end of this line over here about sending the invoice, because obviously going at him and Drake responding is going to bring an incredible amount of attention to them. It's not really going to go in the other direction. Push mentioning Drake in a song is not going to make Drake sell more records. Drake mentioning Push in a song and doing this whole response over here is going to make Push get more streams and make Push get more record sales. So honestly, there's not really anything on this track that I can wildly disagree with. I feel like it's a good and it's a smart response. It's slightly elevates Drake's artistic profile, but again, this is just one single song. This is just one single track. I feel like Drake, again, is a little bit too inconsistent overall for me to be like, oh my God, Push's career is over. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we could say that, hey, put one up on the board for Drake, or at least I'll say that. I know there are a lot of people out there who will be in the comments like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh my God, fuck you, Anthony, fuck you. I know there's going to be a lot of that in the comments and whatever. I mean, you could say that, you can feel that way if you want. But at the end of the day, while I can put one up on the board for Drake on this one, I feel like Push is coming out with the better records. I would easily listen to Daytona all the way through again and again and again and again and again, many times before I even get an inkling to listen through Views, even halfway through one time. So there is that. I mean, as long as Pusha T continues to just put out good music, that's really ultimately what matters. He's not one of these artists out there who I think can merely be destroyed by a diss track, because he's truly a music fan's musician. He's truly a hip hop head's rapper. And what Pusha T does, he's not just some dime a dozen Drake or Migos ripoff or whatever the fuck. He is a one-of-a-kind MC who has a one-of-a-kind sound, a one-of-a-kind ability with flow and lyricism that you're not getting elsewhere. You're not getting anywhere else. So as mean as some of these bars may be, and as smart and as well organized as some of Drake's thoughts may be on this track, I don't really think this is going to do anything to Push ultimately. I think at the end of the day, as far as numbers go, I think Push is the one who's going to end up winning here, because, hey, he got Drake to respond, which says that even though Drake had a good response here, maybe that whole Q thing, while sure he qualified it, maybe it's a bit of a soft spot for him. It's a bit of a soft spot for him, and he had to respond because an MC who is at a certain kind of level lyrically sort of really took him to task over it. So I'm glad it happened. I'm glad, Drake actually had to kind of answer for this in a way, because an MC with a certain amount of artistic cred, really held his feet to the fire, whereas before with the whole Meek Mill thing, I feel like he was just totally able to just toss it onto the back burner, because, again, Meek's whole answer to that was just so embarrassing. So it's great that, he sort of forced Drake into a corner, but in that corner, Drake really pushed his way out. So I don't know. It's an interesting back and forth. It was entertaining. It was entertaining. I guess it just kind of remains to be seen if Push is going to respond. Will there be a Push freestyle? That would be fucking amazing, and I would love to hear that. So, I mean, if Push is the lyricist that we know him to be, and he is the voice and the talent that we know him to be, like, he should come back 2 times harder, because isn't this what you always wanted? Isn't this what you always wanted? You got Drake on the line. You have Drake on the line now. So while Drake has had a great response here, in my opinion, Push could easily come back with something even 2 times better. So, you know, I give it to Drake for now, but I feel like the tables could be turned with a good response. And, you know, maybe we'll hear something on the next Push album, which to me, that would be completely disappointing, because you know the next Push project isn't going to come out until like 2 years. You know, and if on that project he just drops a couple of bars like, oh, Drake said this, but blah 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 blah. You know, it's going to be weak. It's going to be weak. Full-fledged response. Full-fledged response. This is what you've always wanted. Push has been throwing bars at Drake for a long time. He's been throwing bars at Wayne for a long time. And now you really got him on the line on a freestyle that has millions and millions and millions of streams. So sure, you know, while he may have said some stuff here, maybe it got you in the feels, maybe it got you in the soul, maybe it kind of tore you apart. I mean, that Virginia Williams line was not very nice. You know, maybe Push is feeling the heat a little bit on this, but I feel like that's no reason not to respond. I feel like Push should do a response here. Again, especially since I feel like Drake has almost put himself on the defensive, because after this track he put out I'm Upset, which is like just embarrassing. So just throw in that extra helping of embarrassment and let's get it on. All right, those are my thoughts. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, forever.